Prvi u novom forumu predstavit će vam se gospodin Giorgio Marchegiani, predsjednik izvršnog odbora osiguravajućeg društva DDOR iz Novog Sada. Njega će intervjuisati Aleksandra Petrović, studentkinja 3. godine finansijske matematike na PMF-u. Kako im se struke preklapaju, ona je pripremila mnoga zanimljiva pitanja za njega. Nadamo se da će se i vama dopasti. Uživajte.
Is there a scientific element in finance?
Well, first of all, I by the same token, is also an honor and a very interesting thing to be with you virtually together today and be able to give my 2 cents, as you say in English, to this discussion and hopefully give some impulse in the mind of the many people listening to us for their future, in insurance or without insurance. So about the science and finance, yes, the finance has a lot of mathematics inside, as such, has also scientific dimensions. But it goes much further. Let me say that in the theory of finance in the last probably 100 years, since when the finance was born in the Anglo-Saxon world and developed, the theoretical and scientific aspect is very important and took precisely 2 different logics. One part is, let me say, the more mathematical modeling, and I just want to remind everybody, it will be very interesting if you want to don't rely only on my information, but go Google, buy books and listen conferences. In the history of finance, there were breakthrough mathematical concepts. I just mentioned that very traditional capital asset pricing model, CAPM. I just mentioned Tobin Markowitz model of choices of an investor according to the risk profile. Models of behavior of exchange rate in time of financial crisis. A lot of this not all of this is mathematics. So basically, economics, because finance is a piece of what we call economic theory. All of these, the economic theory economics is a social science, but try to make itself more objective through quantitative analysis and also mathematical tools. So this is really something that if anybody is interested in studying this, you can recognize in the patterns after John Maynard Keynes. To give you an idea, Keynes wrote the general theory of interest and money in the 30s of last century. Right after the big recession in the US, and this is since then, but even before, economics were very quantitative. So mathematics is a very, very important element. After that, because economics is a social science, and social science is about people. People are rational, but we know that we are not entirely rational. And the interesting element is this: there is a piece of the financial theory which tries to deal with behavioral finance, and this piece of theory is not entirely quantitative, tries to use quantitative tools, but in the end, you know, how you describe the panic in economic terms, how you describe the willingness to own something, how do you describe the interaction of individual about the, let's say, perspective of economic growth. You know better than me, living in Serbia, that if everybody is convinced that Serbia is a good place to be, probably everybody will come to Serbia. But if everybody is convinced that Serbia is not a good place to be, and this, what does it mean to be convinced? Is it not how much money you have in the pocket? Is the net present value of the money that you expect you will have in the pocket in the next 20 years? And then good luck to make a mathematical model of that. This is very interesting. So the answer is yes, finance is a science, but it's not only a science, and not only a quantitative science, because not all sciences are, I mean, we have to think that science is also
Yes, but science is a lot of included in finance.
yeah. So I would say for those who listen and have a start from a purely quantitative background to say, can finance be an option for you? Yes, of course.
What is the latest innovation in insurance that you have seen?
Well, if you ask to mention one, I would definitely mention telematics. So telematics apply to insurance. Usually insurance is not thought to be very innovative, although there are new risks in the society, emerging risks. So these bring the necessity of innovation. I would talk about telematics because it gives me the opportunity to talk about many things. Telematics is the use of data to monitor movement of objects or people and draw conclusion about that. Telematics is very important because nowadays is a key pillar to the improvement of mobility efficiency. And mobility efficiency means also how vehicles interact among one another and also about the probability of having an accident, a crash. That's why telematics is very important. And what happens in telematics? Telematics, and I speak because in our group, I will probably come to this later on, in our group we invested a lot in the last 20 years about that. We started thinking, okay, with the combination of GPS and telephone transmission and software, we can monitor the driver's behavior. Because we know very well that the probability of an accident to happen depends how people drive. People are more careful, less careful, faster, slower. And then we say, okay, we try to price the risk of the people based on some other, like age, like type of car, like region where you live. But this is this probability assessment. Has been based until, let me say, 10, 20 years ago on very, normal statistical model, multivariated, lot of variables, including what is not always now. I mean, you can put everything, including the color of the skin, if the law allows you now. Luckily, it's not allowed. But in certain countries, it was the case. But then it's always then to the single individual. You can have the same socio-economical, physical, demographic profile driving in very different ways. So the problem is how to monitor how people drive and assess their risk and have a more merit-based pricing of insurance. This is and then telematics came in our help, giving the possibility through small devices. They are not particularly complex. They are the sum of an accelerometer, a gyroscope, and then a GSM card and a GPS, and a GSM card that transmit this through the telephone network to some data repository. And in this way, we started monitoring and offering to our client on a voluntary basis. You accept this thing, and we can offer you a range of services because we can offer you to give you a feedback how you drive. Because the accelerometer also measures the acceleration, how sudden, if you are crazy, if you drive crazy, if you drive smoothly. We can offer you, when you have a fleet of cars, for example, you're a company, we can offer you monitoring how people drive, because people drive for business sometimes in an even worse way than for personal reasons. We can also help the safety of your wife or your kids because you can ring fence certain areas. You can protect even the car if somebody is trying to steal the car. So you can make a lot of things. And and you can also build some algorithms and indicators how people drive and price insurance according to that. Okay, we went this path 20 years. Now we have also a company based on that that does this for us, and this is a great innovation because basically in this way, same person physically and from the age point of view like me can drive in very different way from me, and in this way we capture it ex ante, not ex post. Ex post meaning, of course, you have a bonus malus system that tells you if you made a lot of estimate or not, but this is ex post, not ex ante. And also you can give an incentive to the people to drive better, so we make a discount on the insurance. This is in Italy because in Serbia the legal setting doesn't allow this, the insurance price is fixed. And so through that we did this, and we are also applying to the security of the home. We are applying also to the health, how much you move yourself, you move every day, how much you run, how much you. So this is a real innovation, and as you understand, this is entirely based on technology and science.
Insurances as discipline tackling most of key issues of our society. Can you explain this a little bit? And in light of this role, how and why does insurance need different scientific competencies for future development and better services?
That's I mean, you pick a very interesting point. Basically, what I think, and it also can be relevant to this audience, because I know I have 3 kids in the age of many people listening, and I know what. I mean, my kids, I know what they have in mind, what they look for. Basically, when you start your professional life, you would like to be relevant to the world. You would like to do something, and some things are very important, like sustainability elements of a. When I think to insurance actually has a very boring reputation, if I have to say. Insurance is something very dusty, old papers all over the place. But if you think, insurance is really tackling with the biggest issue of the world, or the biggest issue that our world has influenced insurance. Let's start, climate change. Climate change influences the weather pattern. We insure assets, houses, we insure agriculture or cars, and all this is crucially affected by the climate change. So we must, as insurer, have scientific knowledge and have a vision and build something to understand what does it mean. What does it mean in a specific region? We are in Serbia, and for example, it increases in Europe the frequency of poplara, of flood, and the question is how much, where, what are the consequences on rivers, how can the human the state or the single individual prevent this or not. So this is one example. Other example is the aging of population. Aging of population is a fact in the world because of the technology improvement in healthcare. But in turn, this has a very big impact on the way of living, on the type of things people want, on the on the need for insurance, because you live longer, but you have certain probability to that your health crashes in serious way. And again, it's another crucial element. The third element is, if you think urbanization, gentrification is very fashionable words, but what do they mean? They mean that you have a higher number of people insisting on a smaller area. These people need to move. So mobility is an issue. Mobility means, again, how do you move? How do you move in safe way? How do you move in environmentally friendly way? So insurance is all through this. As in mobility particularly, is incredible. Insurance is a key element of mobility, because, for example, on the one hand, think about that. The day when autonomous vehicle will be perfect, they will never have accidents, almost never. So why to have insurance? We become completely irrelevant. So, but we are in favor of autonomous vehicles because we will insure them in other way. But you understand that the insurance is in the need to ask. If you produce cosmetics, you can ask yourself certain of these questions, but not many. If you produce insurance, you need to ask yourself many of these questions, and this brings with itself the need of having a lot of scientific knowledge in different fields. So that's why we are looking in a perspective, we must evolve from being the very traditional, let's say, old-minded, run-the-mill insurer to group of people who understand how to tackle these new risks. Some of new risks, I didn't mention cyber risk, but it's all of this. So we are in the middle of that, and we are not perfect. So some of the risks we really don't know how to tackle, but other we do. We and then the concentration of the market, the big groups are also there for that, because we have capacity to have almost a research center for that. We do not have research centers, but we have people studying phenomena. For example, meteorology, it's very important. So in this way, you understand that we probably are the ideal career for a number of people and with the most diverse interests, and we are proud of that. I wanted to I'm glad that you asked this question, because I don't know how many people came to put together all these dots, although the dots are pretty obvious in themselves.
Yes, I agree with you. So what is the importance of mathematicians and mathematical calculation in the insurance sector?
In the insurance sector, of course, mathematics is everything. I mean, the probability. You know that insurance, the anecdote is that insurance was born, that the first insurances were born about transportation and ships, marine insurance, and the ships going around the world from London, the Lloyd's of London, and people were assessing probability like this. But meaning probability that the vessel goes and come back and lose the. But now insurance is about data. It's about numbers, it's about calculations, complex calculations. So, of course, mathematicians are the very important engine, because for many reasons, to calculate the prices, you need to have a big databases and build correlation among factors. So we have special softwares, but basically also we need intelligent people able to read. You know that sometimes the software must be prepared, the data must be clean, and this. The overall risk management of an insurance company, you have to think the insurance company is like a big truck driving on an icy road. You know, the big truck has a lot of systems that in every single moment can give feedback on how the truck can be stabilized in the snow, in the ice, in the curve, right, left, going up and down. For that, we have very powerful risk management tools that basically model the insurance company. The insurance company is very interesting animal to model. When you asked me if finance is a science, yes, in that sense, you can imagine the insurance company as a model. The current regulation that we have in Europe, which is called Solvency II, basically does this. We have really an economic model of the company, which has liability, assets, market perturbation, let's say weather perturbation. And when you put all this together, you have to aggregate in numbers. So mathematicians are essential in our profession and are our precious assets. They must be very curious, because we need people that understand why they do the things, not simply do the models, because the models by themselves are pretty, let's say, dry.
I guess data science is very important, because you mentioned a lot of data.
Yeah, it is like this, absolutely. Data science, let me say that in this moment for us is if you wish, is our let's say dream, because so far, if you think insurance in the past years in a very static world, availability of data was not big, but also ability to process data was not big. Now we have a lot of data, even too many, and we have a big computing capacity to process the data. So data science is that. In Unipol, our mother company in Italy, we have built two companies. One company is really dedicated to data science. We have data scientists there. We basically is a company is like a factory for algorithms that are used in other places in the company. The second company is dedicated to telematics, and also is a company which is, let's say, does data science on the telematics, which is per se a world. And we work with universities there exactly to prepare all these algorithms. So we have the knowledge from the field, they have the knowledge from the theory of control. So basically, yes, it is very, very important for that, and will be even more.
And for your personal, what is your favorite field of science and why?
I have two fields because you know I am an economist, so I chose deliberately to go into economics because I like social sciences. So the first science that I mentioned is really economics. I find it fascinating. I came to that knowing nothing about that when I was a student, first a freshman in the university at Bocconi in Milan. Then I was fascinated by that. This is the first. The second is meteorology. I like meteorology. I spend hours reading, studying the weather pattern because I am fond of mountains and mountaineering, and through that it's very important to understand the meteorology, but really in depth, not to look at the icon on the forecast, on the prognose, which is sometimes, is like black or white, but then there are a lot of tone of gray. So yes, those two is a combination of social science and, let me say, natural science.
It's a very interesting combination. Did COVID-19 accelerate the innovativeness in which field of business and insurance?
But in my opinion, yes. The bottom line is when you are pushed to change very quickly, the human being is try to find the really some emergency solution, and by COVID was the perfect storm in that sense, and we were forced. So the answer is yes, of course, didn't change the basic issues of our profession, but pushed a certain innovation, and more, in my opinion, pushed the mental readiness of people to be open to innovation. Because, innovation is also state of mind. Human beings tend to not to be open. And insurers, in that sense, are not always, they are very conservative because, we learn from our history, catastrophes, we tend to think the worst case. And then sometimes you have to live with the forward-looking and not with driving and looking in the rear mirror, which is a risk. So yes.
Okay, and where can science and business meet? What would be the aim?
That's another good question. Science as business can meet for sure. The business, first of all, you can make a lot of things, a lot of business things with science. If you look, the history of the most successful startups are all science based. So, in that sense, all the incubators, accelerators, venture capital, and so seed capital, they are technology based. So I would say that technology and business is a very good, let's say, set of things. They are complementary. And there is a lot of room, just because, as we probably say in our world, technology is a very important driver of the evolution of many things. So I think that indeed there is a win-win game between the two. And on the other hand, let me say that if you would pretend to model business decisions in a way that they are deterministic, I would say no. Because if you think that through the science you can eliminate the judgment, this is wrong. I'm deeply convinced that it is wrong, because the world is very complicated. So I think, and also we would like, when we look for scientists in our business, we don't look for people that want to see everything solved by pushing a button and running a model. We want to see people who are curious to use those things to come to the best judgmental aspect, but we don't believe in what you can say as analysis paralysis, that you through a lot of data, because I experienced that the data are very telling, but you need to be inspired. Also, scientists usually, they have a vision when they invent something. Of course, then they go all the logical process and they go through a scientific process, but they are not limited to looking at the pure, let's say, in that sense,
So a little bit of
data.
creativity.
Yes, I strongly believe in that. I strongly believe in the contribution of the human being. I strongly believe in the contribution of the team. When we want to hire people from outside, we look a lot at the ability to work in team. We don't want pure nerds because what, you can be a genius, but if you are completely autistic, difficult that you, because it will be also difficult for other people to understand you.
Yeah, I understand. And where do you see the insurance in 5 years in Serbia, Europe, or the world in general?
Well, as probably from my words, it's very clear that I expect insurance to evolve a lot still. We basically, I will talk about Serbia. Okay, in the world, all what we said will develop, but basically, what we need to do in Serbia is to bring the insurance to the next level. Insurance today in Serbia is a relevant industry, but this relevance goes hand in hand with the development of the country, but also with the educational development of the country. I believe that a lot, and also the development of the market. Certain things you can do or not do. Insurance is a very regulated market. So if there is a component of deregulation, for example, in Serbia, the investments in insurance are disciplined in a very strict way because of historical reason, because of exchange rate protection and so on, all good. But in the future, for sure, will be needed to liberalize this, and at that point, the scientific element will kick in and will allow to evolve and to create value for the people. Because, for example, in the life insurance, nowadays, as life insurance is okay, it's like it is, can develop slowly, but can have a change of pace if there is some change in the regulation of financial investments, so that there are more opportunities, more new products. So what I expect is that this is brought forward. We also, the pricing for the motor insurance, we were saying motor insurance in Serbia, you price, me and you have the same car, live in the same place, I pay the same premium, apart the bonus malus. But in the, let's say, more sophisticated market, this can be very different. You are, you are a woman, by the way. The sex cannot be the discrimination for the tariff, but in fact is, because women drive much better than males. Yeah, it is true. It is true. Women do much less accidents than male. But in the European Union, there was a very famous court case of some women from Holland that say, okay, all true, but we don't want to be discriminated. So they achieved the fact that all women pay more, because they pay like the men. But okay, this was just to make an example. Also in Serbia, this, let's say, evolution of the pricing system must come. This is also, and for that you need a lot of modeling, a lot of data, because for Serbia we don't have this model. We don't know. We need really, as the DEOR, in Italy we insure 10 million cars. We have models of all kinds. We can tell you if a smart cabriolet, which likelihood has to make a claim in Milano, Napoli, Palermo, Venezia, and if the driver is a man, a woman, a young, old. We can put together everything by very granular. In Serbia, we don't know, because this is a new science, new piece of science. And just for all of you, this is a new piece of business that we will need to develop this. We are ready because we have our know-how from the mother company. And we will, of course, wait that the regulation will adapt. This is a gradual process, depends on many things, and we are patient and wait. So insurance will be different because Serbia will be different, I would say.
I hope so.
I'm sure.
Thank you for your time
Okay, thank you. My pleasure.